We are like a fearsome duo, I would say, and love working together. And so I think what we do is really work together all day, every day, looking at you know, how to bring the best of metabolic health to patients who really want to be and get into great shape mentally, great shape emotionally, great shape physically, great shape metabolically. That's what we do.
It's amazing. Yeah, you said it on stage at the Symposium for Metabolic Health in San Diego, and you said it with such conviction. Everybody in the room believed that, yes, we all need a Rachel. So we're really grateful for you as well, Rachel. Sounds like you guys do amazing work together, which I can't wait to talk about. Before we do, I do want to talk about that Symposium for Metabolic Health. Um, I've been able to talk to several people who were there, and I've been able to ask them what are some of the standout moments, what were some of your favorite parts, and almost universally, the favorite part for everybody was that very first day where we spent an entire day talking about metabolic psychiatry. It was absolutely amazing. Lori, you were able to present on that day. Like, what an honor to be up there. I had not been as familiar with your work, and you calling out Rachel as well on stage. What was it like to do that presentation and be able to present that information to an audience that was absolutely just rapt? They were so focused on what your message was.
It was really wonderful. This was the first presentation of the data that we'd been working on and that Rachel and I had published. And we're actually so proud that we were able to publish it as first co-authors. So we really shared in it from the beginning to the end. And when Doug Reynolds reached out to me and said, would you like to really talk about what you're doing? I jumped at the opportunity not to just do a general overview, not to talk about psychiatry in general, but really to say, this is what's cutting edge. We actually have data. We can tell you, we can describe to you, we can show you exactly what it takes, food-wise, ratio-wise, keto-wise, movement-wise, lab-wise, to get depression and anxiety to go into remission. So it was very exciting to pull it together and really a thrill to be able to talk to other experts worldwide, people who dialed in, and really all of the families and people with lived experience in the audience who were seeing this information for the first time. Super thrilling.
Yeah. Rachel, was this your first low carbohydrate conference? And either way, whether it was or was not, what was your experience like? What were some of the highlights for you?
In terms of low carb USA, it was my second one, second San Diego one actually, and it was fantastic. And it was the same as the first year, where it's this great mix and intermingling of like regular lay people that this changed their life, like in whether it was diabetes or weight loss or just getting their quality of life back. And now the gamut is expanding. Just a great mix of regular people with amazing stories and doctors and researchers. And the speakers are so down to earth, just talking to everyone, reaching out to everyone. It's just a great community. It doesn't feel, I guess it feels like you're with family and friends and you're not like at this medical conference. So I'd say both years was the same. And I think that's probably how all the low carb conferences are.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. We were all kind of sitting on the same row, like two or three rows back. And I noticed you guys. I noticed you, Lori, obviously, because you did the presentation and came up and said what a great job you did. And as I'm looking down the row, I'm looking at my friend Robin, who's sitting right next to me, who reversed her bipolar. Right next to her is Janet, who had some mental health difficulties in her own life and her family's life as well. And now she's doing some great work in that space. And you're right, it is such a wonderful mix of everybody in the space, the people doing the work, the clinicians, the researchers, and lay people, people that are still on their journey. And I don't think it's anywhere more obvious than when we get the questions. I made this point before that the line of questions that you get can come from such a diverse array of different people who are attending the conference. And I just have to say to both of you, I was so impressed by both of you. Every time I looked over, you guys were so dialed in on whoever the speaker was. You guys were taking pages and pages of notes. And Lori, you in particular, when you came up to ask questions, you asked amazing, very genuine questions in a really kind of like humble and learning way. Like, you're a doctor, you're doing all this work, yet you're also seeking more experience and knowledge out there. I was very, very impressed by the attitude that you guys came to that conference with. I don't think you missed a single minute. And again, just all the notes you were taking and the questions you were asking, I thought was absolutely wonderful. So I really picked up on that. And yeah, I just wanted to compliment you both on that.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's a real opportunity to be a learner. in a conference setting like this, because we both came to it thinking every single person here is someone that we can learn from. We can learn from their clinical experience. We can learn from what they're doing. We can learn from their exercise routines. We can learn from their experience with their family members. And the kind of dialogue that really made that possible wasn't just at the tables during the conference, it was in the hallways, it was in the bathroom, it was at the coffee stand, it was, when we
Very
went
true.
out for dinners, like we were all together all the time in the meeting rooms. The electricity was really evident. I couldn't be more effusive about a conference. I think it was the best conference that we attended this past year for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was absolutely wonderful. You mentioned it happening in the bathroom last year. I literally bumped into Gary Taubes in the bathroom as I was coming up one of the stalls. Like, oh, hi, Gary Taubes. Great to see you. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, it was an amazing one. I'm sad that I missed you last year, Rachel. Lori, I'm not sure if you were there as well. But yeah,
It was. Last year we had a poster. It was the first time that we were going to do a low carb presentation, and we presented a poster of different work. It was our first entree. And so it was a really lovely beginning. Ketogenic was there. The ketogenic textbook had just come out by Nutrition Network. There were wonderful vendors there. We made a ton of new friends
that's
in the
awesome.
entire low carb space. Yeah.
That's great. It's so fun to discover new people. Thinking that, again, all of us attended that conference last year together and didn't get to bump into each other. And this year we did. So grateful to have met you guys. And yeah, every year you just meet more and more people, and it's so fun to see all this work unfolding. And I wanted to ask you, before we dive into some of your latest research and the work you do at Touchpoints 180, I wanted to know how each of you kind of got into this work. First of all, maybe like individually, and then secondly, also how you guys kind of came together to become this like wonderful team.
So maybe Rachel, you'll start. Why don't you start with that? Why don't you tell your story first?
Sure, sure. I think personally it was gut health, and it was over probably 15 years ago now. Professionally, it was about 8 years ago in the weight loss diabetes space, type 1, type 2, just that general metabolic health space where I got a job opportunity and I took it. I wanted to get out of the traditional dietitian space, which I'm sure you've heard about in terms of, our education and the government guidelines and how all of that influence. So to have the freedom to practice like true therapeutic carbohydrate reduction with real people and see phenomenal results that I'd never seen was huge. And that really, launched where my career is now. And now, Lori, we met through serendipity, basically. Somebody knew us in common and, got us connected. Lori was looking for a dietitian, like, how can I, expand on this? And I'll, of course, let you talk more about that and your experience. But and then, now since we've been working together a good couple of years now, it's been just another level of expansion. Like now I'm still helping people with diabetes and weight loss and getting to a normal life, normal weight, quality of life, all of that. But it's also putting their anxiety into remission and depression and these conditions that they've had for maybe just new onset in the past year or chronic, like 10 years plus. That's just, really taken away from their life. And so it's just really been an honor and to be able to take it to another level that I didn't even know was possible with nutrition, right? And of course, now we're learning at all these conferences, we're learning day by day how much more there is to learn about our mitochondria, about like this underpinning of metabolic health and mental health. Maybe health is health, right? Like maybe there's this under layer where we can treat everything with diet and lifestyle in such a wonderfully powerful way.
That's amazing. Rachel, I do have one question about your own story. You mentioned being a registered
Sure.
dietitian and all of the challenges that come along with that. You mentioned the training. You're largely given kind of the dietary guidelines, which we know don't work very well. I got the same thing. I'm not a registered dietitian, but I'm a nutrition coach. And with my nutrition certification, they do the same thing. It's the same stuff. How were you able to break out of that? Because not many dietitians do. They kind of get stuck in this thing, but they've committed to it and it's kind of their career and they're stuck giving people advice that doesn't seem to be working. What was the kind of like time frame and that series of events that led you out of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's probably a lot of variables. I think the main one is probably my own health. Following a regular American diet, pretty healthy. My mother always cooked healthy, but having like these severe gut issues that just got worse and worse, and like, you know, what's going on. And taking out grains and dairy and like those sorts of things first, and then getting down the rabbit hole of gut dysbiosis. And well, let's actually go low carb and ketogenic and take out everything, including fruit. And like, let's see. I can't tell you how my health just like it bloomed, blossomed. Like I got rid of exercise induced asthma. Like now I'm such a better athlete than I was. I wish I found it in high school, right? I got rid of just so many things. Like my gut just transformed, where I didn't have to like worry about abdominal pain and cramping and bowel issues and things that like anyone that's experienced knows that like, wow, you need to like know where you are or how far you're going, like where are you going to be, that sort of thing. Am I going to be away for a while? So I think just my own personal experiences, you know, mental clarity, focus, just, yeah, I'd say that was the number one. And I guess in terms of my education, you know, I really paid attention. And I think, you know, dietitian's training gets a lot of negative talk, but in terms of the base of my education, I really paid attention in biochemistry, and I paid attention and, you know, really learned about cholesterol, because we do actually learn that cholesterol is essential for the body. We learn everything about protein, how essential it is. Like we learn we do learn about metabolic health. It's just not put to us that way. Like we learn about insulin resistance, but it's not put to us or focus on that much in a way where we can learn how to transform someone's life with it. It's just sort of like facts. And I think being able to really have the understanding of the science and be able to understand the biochemistry and all of that helped me just sort of not even like think twice about it, just like not even look back, not even think twice.